Malo mo lang malia ho eki pe pe foki ke tonga mo bulan kotoa mo me mai ke he polokalama ko ia ai TWN ko tonga world news he fia fi fa ko ni e fia pule lulu eni a ho valu e merini wa hiva ei
Aohi vai, Brenda.
a hiva okay ko si mata wa valu
Yes.
so anyways tali tali
Ahoga
lei
fulu. Ahoga fulu si
we
mata ia.
added it.
Ate ia hete.
Ko e mau whakamalo atu ho o mo wakai me ke te mātoro he whiawhi koe ni mau o ngo i malu ia pe monu ia he whiawhini ko hono ngā koe kau mai a si mata palu ki he mapolo kalama ko ia i he whiawhini pea oku ma whakawheta i ai Emeline.
Ko
Ko ia
ia.
tukangi, so we are welcoming you and everybody that is listening in. Tukuangi time ko ni ka Emeline ke ni o mai ko ngā hoko, pa te mau toki hoko atu rewa pe mo simata in a few minutes. Malo.
Itamesi, oi whaianga e whakaua. Fio I e kakala, koe tongu aki moia fo. I e ngangatu, I e loto, o tuula I e
Malala malia Hawaii pe malo lele atonga kuto mo me mai ki he proklama e TWN e fiafieni pule lulu o e aohiwa I Amerikani. Brenda, ko fiafo ke ni ko proklama ne utanga mahin gai ka National Women Leadership ka
Yes.
o fia aupito ko inga ko iheni asimata e fiafini. But I wanted to bring out that, ko fia he ka uhinga foki ko e family fogeni e ku fae kolowai, and for a
Yeah.
short notice for you to be here ko ofalahiat ka ko pe foki ki ho fae ki halaivalu palu pe foki ho mam ki ho dad ki tongai. Kago, let me put a little introduction before we have a discussion tonight with her. Ko simata ela a palu na ngawe hanga hitau I he puleanga. Aya ko put ngawe tak mamata. Na ilava finga ko simata I Masters in International Development may siapani. Pia na ilava moyako training I Himalayas tsunami based disaster risk reduction. Aya ka foi uhinga lahien ko ni o ta fra amoi ke hen he fa fini ko uhinga ko ke ta tala noa ki he me ko ni hoko ko I tonga pe hoka pe pe mo ne interview ko ni na ne fai pe mo Pacifica le dio Pacifica pe mi Australia. Aya ko ni na fai me United Nations Institute of Training and Research. Aya ko UNITAR ma ai ka kai fe fine I Pacific. Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah. Oku mauhoa fo ke simata pe mo pasuka mapakaitolo ko I kaletahi tutuku pe okiai e na foha ko Nathaniel mapakaitolo. Oku na nofo pe I Yamana Nashi Pagadag fadonton mai pe hingo fe tu ke nofo ai. Pe oku te olotonga tarivaka pe ke fai ha foki hitonga ke hoko atu e tokoni ki o tau kāinga ko ia I Tonga.
Oh, very nice.
Welcome, Simata. Uh, ko mea whaketaha na o whaam ki he whiawhini ke hoko atu ho whamatala koni na ke whai ko he Pacifica. Because Brenda, I watched that one because I really enjoyed that. Ka koe mea kona o whaam ko ki ai, where is Tonga heading now ki he now recover, He koe ngā whuk tau ilo whuk lahi mau mau, pia koe ta whaakien koe o ku ke expertise ai. So we're gonna
Yeah.
just give you the platform. Brenda, welcome. I know you have some questions too, but we'll give it to you, Simata, and
Yeah.
welcome to TWN.
Beautiful.
Malo aupito e me Brenda, peko kole ke o hufanga tupe I he ngahi talawhakatapu a ngā maheni o polo kalamani. Ka o ki tokoni atu pe ke mo issue koeni na mo o hake whikau aki mo moving forward in terms of recovery for Tonga. Ko
Yes.
kore whamoe mole pe te whakatonga o aki pe, ai lea whakatonga pe mo le whapalangi.
Yeah.
Ke lava pe o mahino mali e ke kainga koni o
Yes.
mea mahi e whiawhia. So first of all, I just want to make a short disclaimer. I am not a geologist, nor do I represent the government of Tonga. Am I affiliated with them? But thank you very much for the beautiful introduction, Emelina. As mentioned, I had a few working years in Tonga in the Ministry of Tourism, and when I came and did my master's in Japan, this prompted me to learn not just tourism, but international development. And through my own personal research, I discovered that disasters will continue to happen in Tonga in terms of natural disasters. So I got thinking that, okay, moving forward, how do we learn to coexist with Mother Nature?
Mm.
Oh,
And
yes.
then there were years that prompted me to explore. And one of them was, because I focused on tourism, mind you, was exploring the likes of disaster tourism. And that's what led me to take on this training with UNITA. Um, and through this training, this is why I took it on myself to help clarify and calm down the nerves of distress, panic Facebook users,
Yeah.
especially from the Tonga Nofo Moli, during the
Yeah.
time that Tonga went black. Hirikoe volcanic eruption,
Blackout,
there
eh?
was tsunami. Yes, and you, as you mentioned, we've moved on from my previous interview about what to expect and what will happen on the ground. So let's just talk shortly about recovery. So the recovery phase in disasters happens within 24 hours right after the event. O stutuan ni whalau pe ia he puleanga Tonga that 24 hours to 48 hours following the event, o pau ke whai assessment ia puleanga mo ngahi kupwhekau aki. In the context of Tonga, um, there are what they call a cluster. Aia koe kulupu o ko tataki iha kahipotungawe o nauhanga o tokanga iha foi elia. So for example, you have the social and protection cluster, which is led by the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Wafoia he kau ofisa kolo pule whavahe kuluka kaifefine tau tupu o nautolu te nausiofi to the protection and dignity of the people right after the event. And then you have the safety and hygiene. And unfortunately, where we stand now, not only did Tonga experience two natural disasters, it's now experiencing a global pandemic. So it's a very Tonga is even more in a more vulnerable stage than many of the other countries when in Mamani. Um, so that being said, I want to touch on the different disasters. Ayaw tawanga maheni tautoluia with the um, environmental aigwe cyclones. What we're experiencing in the pandemic falls under biohazards. What we are experiencing with the tsunami falls under geological. Now, these are not unique only to Tonga. Um, the Malo that in the likes of the UN, there are frameworks in place, including the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, um, that gives a working document e lava ke ngau e ngahi pule anga whatatau ke framework o na o mai. So in the likes of the tsunami, it falls under the Sendai framework, which began in 2015 to 2030. So coming back to Tonga, yes, Tonga will build back, and yes, it does follow the SDGs. So it's encouraging to know that they are working towards some targets, some goals, and most importantly, it's not just in the country context, regional, but it also impact the global level. Mahapaki, vai vai tu peke taimine, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask Malo.
I think a good question, Aku. When you look at it right now, how huge the damage, how long it going to take for for Tonga to rebuild?
Malo aupito. So based from the data that's already provided by the government, and in terms of development, we like to look back at historical events that happened similar to what we're experiencing now and draw our estimation. In the likes of Cyclone Kita that fell in Tonga, it actually took about 3 years for
Mm.
the recovery, for the houses to be rebuilt. Now, some reports argue that the damages from Gita are worse than the damages from the tsunami. Um, but the government has already shared that they are looking at between a 20-year recovery phase. What we would
Mm.
like to understand is that recovery phase, most people automatically think of building back houses, building back roads, um, building back businesses. But we also need to understand in the context of Tonga, um, people were, all of the people in Tonga were affected. So there is also the psychological support that's needed, you know. There's also the
Right.
emotional support. It will take some time for trees to grow back. So it can be 3 years at earliest, or it can
Right.
be 15 to 20 years. Ka o te tauto o mama e tauto o pehe, you know, it's going to be so long. But when you think about it, when you build a house, it can take you 9 months to 16 months.
Right.
So it can be sooner. And based on the foreign aid that's flowing in, and of course, in ngai toko ni me tau kainga koe ni tonga ki o whakoi ma tonga.
Mm.
Confidently, I would say it would be within that 20 years
20-year period. Wow.
employer to have
O
our trees
whakahawa pe
rejuvenated,
ki ai, eh?
so on.
Sorry, go ahead, Samantha.
No problem. So, like I mentioned, it not only one part of Tongatapu was affected; it was the whole country. So you will have, groups of farmers, um, businesses, the schools, the churches, um, even the government as well. It will take time to rebuild. You can't just focus on one village or two village. E pau pe
Mm.
ke lele ai ngawe most affected. Pau to lele whatahape mo ngawe ke tokoni i to
And
all the others who
sustain.
were affected.
Right.
Yes. And it's encouraging. One thing that is encouraging is the presidents in Tonga have a strong support system. Mea tau tō koe ni ka kai Tonga no formuli.
Yeah.
So that's
Mm.
why I mentioned that we have to continue feeding them hope, so that they can, e lava lewa whakaivia nau tō ke nau loto lahi mo whai e ngā oe. Um, but who knows, mahalo e lava pe a recovery phase yet within 10 years. Um, but then again, we also have to play our part from outside of Tonga. Malo.
Oh, that is so io. Now, whanonga ho interview ko mo polkalama ko I Australia simat. I was very enthused about wa fia aupito ko whanonga ko o hanga le aute fo I face ko e tolu whikau aki mo e tokoni ko e ni ki he langa he mo rebuild. Ke he kakai ke now be patient pea also ke nau pase ngai mo oni he o ku factual ke kakai. Ka koe mea ia hua tai whiu I o ke pehe te nau kore ha tokoni me ngahi whanua muri. Ke tokoni ki he recovery pe whai aki pe tokoni e whanua muri o awe ki tonga. I mean, whakaukau te pe maharo ki accelerate ia ngai ngā weo I ofi at ke tau e ono instead of 20 ko anga whakaukau. Eh? So,
Malo Pito Brenda. And that's a beautiful question, and it's a honest conversation that we should have on an everyday basis. Um, Koe talanoa koe ke foreign aid. Right now, Tonga has already, gone over that phase. Tonga has shook the world, and our international friends, um, you know, they also have that the country profile responsibility to assist where needed. So we are already receiving that foreign aid. Um, But the question we should ask moving forward is the dependency.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
go for the falala.
Oh, yeah.
In any country and in terms of development, um, a strong government, a strong state would ideally not try and increase dependency, but try and increase productivity. Aya e tau talanoa mahino, e ia pe taimi e pau ke whangatai a foreign aid,
Tokoni.
um,
Mhm.
kai I ai ngai toko ni, kai lava ke whenga e pe he kakai koe whanua ke nau langa hake ai
On their own. Yeah.
ino ngahi livelihoods.
On
The
their own.
whatata pe and I've got permission from the author from this research in e tau tō koe mamani i ngai whanua koe Pasifiki o ko lawea ngofua koe ki he whatamaki whaina tōla, kura ki pe ko Vanuatu. Ua
Mm.
lewa ko
Yeah.
Tonga, tolu lewa ko Filipa. Pe ko to'o lewa ai research me he tahine o ne hanga whatotoloi ai effect koeni of dependency on disasters on a person's income. And what she's found is the more the disasters happen, it takes longer to recover infrastructure wise, but there is a growing dependency on the local people. And what that does, it lowers the income, or there is no positive effect on their income. So moving forward, what we'd like to see, and I'm sure the government has their plans and process, is over time, once the infrastructure, you know, is built so that people can go back to office buildings, people can go back to using computers and internet, there will be less dependency on just receiving it. Tokoni ma umai pe mi mulu. Kai hokole vai e ko ha, like fuel can have idea ka kai ke foki ke no ngahi ngawe. But now they have faster internet, they have better buildings, safer. Um, they have, some food security laws in place ke nga gono to way ke more
Mm.
sustainable in the future.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd like to note. Again, I don't represent the government, but this is from drawing from experiences in the likes of Philippines, Malo.
Hmm. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Fafofa. Yeah.
Mahalo
Oye,
ko.
yeah.
Kai Brenda.
Io katakpe ke si mata ke ko ku curiosity before he anga ko ni ko whakaukawa to awia with all the aids and everything e vavi ha tau tu utat ki tonga because o kai ko na to pe fe no foi tonga that's our mother country we want to be there too, you know.
Right, right.
Da o si fie I lo ke he anga e whakalere ngā we me all that. Ko whakaukau atu ki o ka e maki I donated relief recovery mo Emeline ke awe ki Tonga. Ka ko whakaukau atu uh, e whanonga whaka ho talanoa koe ki mua atu koe mo interview pia mo e porkalama e taha. You were saying something interesting to me. Hope he offer mai ke mo be patient. Pea mo fope I he whaunga pe ko rea te pure anga ke mo fou ai.
Trust the process, eh?
Trust the process. Pea trust pe mo kautaki mo
Depends.
pure
Yeah.
anga. He? I thought about that. He kono nga we do, in a way, and respect a new pure anga koini, and the way they set things up is so beautifully Mao moyanga. It's a beginning of a new thing. Ka ko whakaukaua tau ia. Ko maua pe nia ma neves koe ke whai mo matoat ki tonga ke whakalere ma ki ngā au e muha. But more on the koe ha koe ai mi rini. Koe ma ki porokalama mawahe pe me whakapore.
Non-profit? Non-profit.
Io, ko non-profit, When you do it on your own without any help from anybody, and not the government,
Like the private sector.
private sector,
Hmm.
diding wait, if you have any. But anyways, ko mea ko tokan ki ai o ko whakaukau atu. O mo oni lewa, ulava lewa ke te measure ate whakaukau, whikau aki mo pe koe, mahalo pe e tau e wanoa or maybe less, depending e anga e tau supporting ideas with each other. Ka ko whakaukau atu si mata. O kutono pe ke nau pehe mai, ke si tokona pe kau tonga koni me mulini, you know, because that's a big door of opportunity. If Rava pe he going everybody ko mauani o ke fonuani, we hear of everyone wanting to send. Pag mo on pe halau au, kau kai ko emotional part e tau tokoni, you know. He kono ngau tau whi mau ke tau fōu pe he whonga totonu pe ke mau. Ka ko whakaukau a tau, ko pure ngā, they're so slow, you know. O ku tuai pena tau whakaukau a tau ia, ko osi ai e kau assessmenti, ko osi ai e kau infrastructure, o i ngā we me mea koa tari. But anyways, ko e impatient ni ko alatu ai au, you know. Ka ko siaka ke safa kakai, you know, they're short of this, they're short of that. Pea oku nau launga, eh? Pea oku lava lewe ke tau, you know, we just don't know how to put the ball right where it should be.
Well, kada tau foi hiva kai tau tuk foki mai ki pa tu, eh?
Okay?
Okay.
Minga
Taina
si
ko
mata
vai
yan
foki.
ko hivas whakasiapan.
Taina ko vai foki, eh?
Ko ia, kaku mo po whakasiapan. Woo! Mata.
Alunga Kolovai. Okay, Simata kapag ka feedback kay meko na taglabi ka Brenda before I bring my second question kaya ko unmute yourself. Okay.
Malo, aupito. Oh, yeah. So just coming back to your questions, um, it's more like a two-part. Hey, when will they open borders, and how soon can the assistance be distributed? I think what we also have to understand and put it into perspective. Ko kito ko lahi ko atonga tapu o fitu manufa afetupu. O kuia i toko tolu awhetupu ngā pule anga, ko e toko ua awhetupu combined ai so tiamu e pia mo e polisi, and maybe the awhetupu e health sector. So given the generous support e mamani ke toko ni o ke whenga i ke langa hake koe whanua, we have to remember they also went through shock, and I'm sure by now they've gone through that shock of the tsunami that happened. But now they're being hit by the pandemic. And so it will take time psychologically. I don't have a time frame, unfortunately, for them to collectively plan a more effective way forward. Say, for example, kapau ong nausio nau tolu ia o kamata o kuiaiha o toe te ngi ia ia ki kolo na uesia pea toe whipihia aki lewa ai ngahi kolo koe kaunga api. E pao lewa ke nau reach out lewa nau tore ke ngahi donors i muri ke te whakalahi mai ai nau tokoni either technical or in resources. As for us, Kainga Tonga Kweni, there's a big pool of talented Tongans living abroad, and they are very well aware of this. But again, each country has to respect its own individuality. So, allow them, a few weeks at least, to process the priorities that's already arriving in Tonga. So, for example, you want to see that your assistance is going through the proper channel and is getting to the hands of the right people. Again, Tonga has an infrastructure in place, and that is through the NEMO or through your respective embassies. Kapau ha tokoni mai ha whanua muri ki sia panini. E pau peke na whawhona o tolu ia I he nau tataha and I can't elaborate more on the diplomatic ties, but I understand the frustration that many of us Tongans share, not seeing our, kutakai, e te whenga tataha, ke tuwha ke wā o tonu ki ka kai koe, o whenga tā ea, but te sio, o kia change. But it just happened, ki whamanatu pe, it just happened less than 4 weeks ago. I believe the government has done an incredible job in trying to trying to get all the resources and have it accountable. Kea o koe ki tau whapaanga hoko, o eke ia koe he a ti tāpe mo tau toka inga tonga ko whe, ai whamatala koe ni ki he ngahi koloa mo I tokoni mo poke koe ki tonga o osmao me nau li poti. So again, we have to be patient. Within 3 days or up and running, and people are functioning. So Tonga did pretty good. Again, processes that put in place. I'm sure our suggestions are welcome. Existing infrastructure, embassies, high commission offices, consulates. In terms of the borders opening, there was a mention in one press conference that repatriation flights might resume soon. Now,
Mm.
I like to highlight on that because there's an advantage about a lava resume a repatriation flight. Tausio kweni ki repatriation flight kwen fisi. A good number of those awaiting repatriation flights are graduates from medical degrees.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
moving forward, au e lava e pe foki mai koe ai whanau ako nei fisiki tonga e toko lahi kau nesi, e toko lahi kau toke
That's
tā, e
right.
whaever
Yeah.
kau e i alu i also in the likes of New Zealand, there's returning students in Fahai, New Zealand and Australia. There's returning graduates and even doctors in area going to climate change or
Mm-hmm.
disaster risk reduction. So, then I'll focus more now, but yeah, I'm going to see you. Again, o ki ai pe palani ngā oe puleanga o ngā mui mui ki ai ko nau toki ia o pe kia threshold o ngā pehe te nau lava o whakaawa ai tau a whanua ke whoki mai repatriation flight. That would be an advantage for Tonga. And
Yes.
then we hope in the next few months after that, e ki ka hea no whakalea lele, Tonga will be better equipped to
Yes.
Yes.
welcome
Yes.
all travelers in Tonga.
Right.
Yes.
Um, and we should congratulate our families and friends in Tonga. Hinau talango fua o lava aluhake ai vaccination rate or first dose 98%. They're almost 90% never second dose. The more you see people taking precautionary measures, the more confident we are to go out shopping, to eat out. Um, maybe not to have a party, but the more measures that are being practiced at the more confident we are to travel. And that is something I also looked into in my personal research. Hafonga ko e lava ke to langa hake traveler confidence e foki ko ki tonga. So
Oh,
coming
yeah.
back to the repatriation flight, if aloha ke koe to e si to whakai no mo ui
Mm.
Idengi mo ka eva o kawai ki tau tōru tau tonga. Ke tau foki ki tonga tau sio koe hae ngahi ola
Yeah.
o lava. Ka tau lava leva voice out face to face with those in office. Koe ki toko ni atu pehe ta paki koe a malo.
Well, for offer aupito simat. Thank you.
Ke koe mea koe o ko naki lawe whoki e dependency pa mo e productivity. E no koe taha whoki e whawhawhai whanua koe na manawhai Amerikani. Ka nau hangana wha ai koe ni entrepreneurship So anga uksio koe ki tonga ka pate ke whenga ke reduce the dependency ka increase the productivity. Koe haa ho palani koe can increase ke productivity a tonga. I know Brenda mentioned private sector, and I know farm if I entrepreneurship is there any other plan o mo whakaukau kia ke mo hanga increase productivity ke oefu depend na tonga ki moli ka lava pe tonga ke self what do you call that word I always
Sustain.
use self sustain
Mm-hmm.
Malo Pito Emeline. Again, I don't speak on behalf of the government. I would just like to share my own based from my research. Um, so, in order to increase productivity, I'm grateful for lea mai aki koe mātua mo alo o ako ke mo hanga ilo fo o ke mo foki mātoni ke anga e tau nofo whakafo I whāmiri tau kōlong.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't have to mean that everyone should go into bachelor's degree or master's or PhD. If I fall fire, but Tonga already has the highest ratio of
yes
graduates in the Pacific. What we need is to be able to translate some of those literature in a more local level through trainings. It could be technical trainings in areas of STEM, science, technical, mathematics. So it could be trainings in hospitality.
Iya.
Because um, Korea. So I would say first would be educating them, because when you read something new and you have that aha moment, you
Then
go,
aha moment.
oh, yeah, that aha moment, you feel empowered.
Empowered,
I
yes.
can
So
do this,
true.
because what I've learned, and this is and it's shared among the development studies, is there may be a challenge o ku tau whehanga tau tolu i tonga moia. Ka ko o si fau mai ai e ngai whanua ke he e mamani 10, 20 years ago, and they have the solution and they can share it with us. So again, o ku sai ka pau e tamata aki pe honu whakaivia koe ai kakai by trainings and education. From there, they can get
Absolutely.
creative and think of ways on, for example, ka pau ko whine e ki na e tupuhai family na e lalanga pe ngahe whanki tātong tongi. Then you can get creative and think, okay, I have a phone. This is internet. I can run an online business by selling my mother's um,
Craft.
goods online.
Craft, right.
Yes, people will get more creative. And Tonga's ICT, and neongo pe o ke tatari ke connect into full capacity. But Tonga has a very good streaming of internet connection. So e iai e ngai e lia lahe e lava ke to e langa hake a Tonga me iai. But myself, from personal experience as well, is educating and training. Um, and that's step number one, because the more you read, the more you know, the more you know, the more you can grow.
That's right.
Malo.
That's right.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, very much so. Iyo. Koe ki whehui o ku TVA tēnei ke whituke. Koe,
Okay.
si mata koe pureanga fo o koni o ku nau whakarera tong he taimini. O ko sia pe o ku very effective aupito in our direction ke ke nau tala tutuun ke kakai pe mo whinga i koe ke mā opo e nau ngā ue mo mea katoa. Ka o ko sia o kia e whemahino aki e tuunga o kia kakai pe mo nau ngahi launga. O kia nau whemahino aki pe mo kautaki. They're so patient ke make sure pe o ko very short e nau tari ko ke ngahi whihui a press pe koe kakai also. They're straightforward pe ke oa e to lo atu he koe e hawai le vai ta mahi no ia, you know. So do you support a pureanga for all in our future whama o popo me direct?
Endeavors.
Yeah, when our diagnostic yung ano vai taimi.
Malo Alpito, each um, each to their own, and I respect the different governments that have come before. And I believe that each, not only government, but any phase of leadership, faces different challenges of bao can now overcome. So, again, like I mentioned, Tonga, all of the residents in Tonga Tapu was affected. Um, and what this current government is doing is, I believe they're doing the best that they can with the very limited resources that they have.
Listen, right.
Um, and they've also shared it in a press conference earlier that there's always room for improvement. That's a vulnerable side
Room
that
for
we don't
improvement,
always
right.
see governments, is to say ko maulele taha ni ko to yai pe e fai pe to si o ki ai ke to si ko ha fo nga ngau e to lele yang And that for me as a development economist builds my confidence in investing into this government or investing into businesses managed by such a government. So whether to say it's led by this person or that person or this party or not, it all goes back to seeing when faced with a challenge, how effectively are they able to carry it, and to be able to show a vulnerable side builds that confidence in me, knowing that they know that it can still get better. Moving, we've seen he tau experiences fa foi tui tui e tau tolu he ngai whanua o tau iai koe muri. O tau os ilo e tau tau o iai ngai whaunga e tau le ange. And I'm sure they would be welcome to take on our feedback, but we can share it with our respective consulates and high commissioners. Ko whātātai ni he tawhaki koe ni tak mamata. Tam koe na i tai he cyclone ki tā a Tonga. Tourism was the most affected because the resorts were damaged.
Damage, right?
Goya. So when that happens, they don't just wait until government comes. They actively went to the government. E ke ange, koe haha mo toko ni e lava whai mai he koe ni ko mau i te unga koe ni. And the way they managed it gave them the confidence to continue. O a o mai ni koe lau ta aue ni iai ngahi cyclone ke kau kei foki pe ngahi resorts o whenga ke langa ngahi business iu no ke whenga pe ke langa. So when any government admits to an area that they're vulnerable in but has room to improve, I would say I would give them a vote because it gives me that confidence that yes, they'll listen to what I'll share and yeah, they will be able to build it back and build it back better. Malo.
I like that. Na toki talanoa pe mo sisi kakala Vaipulu, the attorney in Tonga. Pene pehe ma ea ane nai just before the show started. Koe whaunga koe na una distribute ko I Tonga koe I relief. For me and Brenda, we are non-profit over here. So if we going to send something to Tonga as a non-profit, o ko pehe e sisi a ko pau ke alu ko toi peke ni mo ta tai pepe ko government no government. So Brenda, this is a news that we just got today from Sissy. He pehe ka pai he kai ke lava ke na hanga na tolia o he kai ke lava ave hanga ton ke tau unibif ko I Tonga pau ke go through he ni mo. So in order for us to get a tohi ko en ko ke tax free or something like that. So my question is to that, if Octaya had the alternative way for us, like for example, instead of us having the Nemo handle and distributed our relief from here, is there any other alternative way that the government can allow us to just have our own Unibif in Tonga distribute our own stuff instead of handing them over to the Nemo?
Malo aupito. So Tonga has caught the world's attention. But what we fail to realize is why they put this infrastructure in place is because there had been mistakes done in the past. So at current, paupeia ke whakafo I ni mo. And this is why. In past cyclones, and this is also widely available on internet on reports, na iai pe whainga ai ngahi NGOs koe mei muri ke nau connect, ke nau deliver pe nau tole e nau ngahi toko ni to their sister NGO I Tonga. But what happened is um, there was no there was no accountability in place. So it caused mayhem, whetukua ke kakai mo kau NGOs, and there was no checks and balances with the sister NGOs in Tonga. Ai o whaia te whakia me mori, kau kai ke nau ilo e nau toluia, pena o sia o tufa ton, o tufa ke ngahi toko ni o o ton ke kakai. Io mai pe ai NGO e Tonga, ta koe mahal, Vahe pea ke ki kolofi pe koe ke NGO pe koe vahe pea ke ngai family. So there wasn't any accountable platform ke lava of o siofi whether na o sia utono e ngahi tokoni. And that's one thing as a business you would understand is you want to, there are areas you want to take risks, but when it comes to donations where they, you know, Foki ofat ko hatokoni, you want to know that it's being held accountable. And that is why the government has decentralized all the former way of sending NGO to sister NGO in Tonga and centralizing it in Nemo, is that Nemo not only plays a legislative role, but they also play an operational role. Kakai peko no hanga ko o whakanga we I mo toki subcontractor ko ke whai e tufaki, e pau ke na uli pōti ange. So there is a check and balances, and there are going to be people held accountable. So again, the challenge with that, especially in our situation in Tonga, is the work is going to be delayed. In order ke whakamā opo lele e ngahi tokoni ko toa pe mahino, ko tokoni me Group A Australia o Augasione A, o se ono tufaki, o se ahoi fiha e pau ki lupoti ma sione A, na o si tufaki pea e iaha fo I random check o alato wakai ki kolo koe ne alo tufaki a sione A, o mahino lewa I o na ia o mai ko sione A na iha o ko ta mai ko fuaki o wha mai mi Australia A Group. Sai, it's being accountable. It will take time, and again, that's why I encourage us, especially the Kainga Tonga, to be patient. We all want to help, but if we all try and send bit by bit by bit, we will lose that accountability. And accountability is very, very important in any leadership, any management role, whether it's small NGO or big NGO. You want to be held accountable, and it also raises your profile. It also raises your profile to know that your resources have been accounted for. So, I he lolo tongani an kataki whamamore whafope kotoa ngai toko ni address ke Nemo. Mahalo koe ngai whakaiki koe ni ke ngai toko ni whakakolo e lava pehe Nemo o toki vahe atu, but yes, you still have to channel through Nemo. Malo.
That will, that accountability is also integrity and transparency. Yeah, that's important. But then, we'll bring a break. We'll take a break and then we'll be back, Brenda. Our final word, and also we'll get into that. Break it, yeah. When my technical is gonna be working, May also, Brenda, if you have any feedback or any question, I'll give it back to you. Peaskap te amek dorang kia simata kene fa osmai ki mo ose tau programa.
Koia. Famalo at Pesimata, this is not going to be the last time we're going to ask for you ke join us in Aimea Hokoitonga because that's very nice aupito hono ho tuku mai a right Naimea
Information.
ko appropriate ko ki tonga pe moang hano tataki for dua. Okay.
That's Brenda's
Yeah.
granddaughter. That's the future of TWN. Anyway, we're gonna ask Simata if you have anything final to say. Can you go ahead there? Damn it, if you
Malo
again,
pito Brenda. Iyo. Malo pito Brenda mo ilaline maufainga maalie mo onia na kai kyo whakaukaua wia te mo taki mai. But it's an honor o ko honga aupito hoko e ku you know ki experience ya ako mo e ku kaya ha lele me ki research mo e ku experience e lava tokoniat ke kainga ko Tonga ko whamumua te pe o ka kau ya ngai lea na kai ke whiunga e ku tau i very unique time i my money right now. Ko mea pe ko ole ke tau whepopo waki pe he koe what Tonga has gone through has given Tonga the opportunity to build and keep building. It's enough all the past mistakes and whatnot. Tonga can only come back better and stronger. Ko whakaloto lahi atu pe ke kainga Tonga. Because our people in Tonga pe koe businesi, pe koe whamiri, pe koe kainga, pe koe friends o koe Tonga, some of them have not gone over that shock of what's happened coupled with COVID now in Tonga. So they are depending on us, the family, the friends, the acquaintances who live abroad, to continue to feed them hope, to continue to have faith in them, and to continue to encourage them to, be courageous and live their day and live it well, build back their businesses, be patient with the process that's already in place. Because we, Kainga Tonga Moe, Kaumahinigo Nofoi Muri, have a role to play in building back Tonga. It's not just the same mitiko te tau talafi ki Tonga, pe ko ngahi mea ofa ko tau whaki ki Tonga, ko hoko e tau ngahi lea, ko hoko e tau ngahi lotu, ko ha whakaloto lahi ia ki he Kainga Tonga koe I Tonga, ka o maa pe tau Kainga Muri ko Nofoi Tonga. Hoko le vaia ka whonga e te whakaivia nā o tō ke nā tō loto lahi or, and help build back Tonga. He hange pena o waiwahe koe in my previous interview. Ko tui mālohi au pito pēwia ko e tau I mulini, ko e, ko e lotu ene e tau whanga kui o tau munu I ai, ke tau I mulini o sio e ngahi whonga e lava ke toi leleia ngā tō. But right now, all ears of of our family and friends in Tonga is on us. Ko tau tolu koe hai ngahi lelei te tau lava vahe vahe mo nau tolu. E hoko le vai as a form of raising awareness, educating them to get
Right.
creative and find solutions for whatever challenges o nau lo tonga fe ao mo ia. So ko whakaloto lahi atu pe, ke kotoa ka inga tonga e, ke whakaloto lahi pe ke tau ngai whamiri mo kaumaheni, um, ke nau talango fua pe ke ngahi tutu uni koe ko o atu, he koe taim pe koe o tau tali loto lele ai, ha, ha kole mai o whai, e whakahoko lewa ai ngā oe ko ia i he loto lele, pe mao lewa ai ngahi ola e toi lele ange. So I leave you on that good note. Ko whamalo atu ka moa he mao whainga maali e koe ahoni, o tala monu atu ki ngahi ngā oe hanga mai koe e kaha o whalahi atu from Japan. And we will see you again soon. Malo abito.
Okay, Ofalaya Malo Aupito, thank you. Um, okay, Brenda, ngatay the programa. I think give it to you, Brenda, que for Malo get the sponsor. So that way we can leave tonight's note. Uh, this is beautiful, eh? What a beautiful night that we have. Ai whamahino mai me whamatala mahino ai whonga ngawe whaitonga, eh? So give it back to you, Brenda. Unmute yourself.
Whamaro a pito ki he tonga kotoa o musi I tokoni mai ki he mau pō lawe lawe he pōni. Whaafo ofa a pito pēha moe tamai ki tonga ko atu ki muri o hako. Pēha ko nau whoki mai, ko nau tokoni ki he whanua, pēha moe kakai line. Pēha ko ofa lahi atu ki he tahine koe ni, pēha ko osange ko taki I toto oini.
Oh,
Pēha ko
yeah.
iai ko tukatai mi ke close e koe kata tok hoko atu.
Kaya kita mea ka endorse the sponsor ka Nopi. And we are 501c3 ka paupe pe ha mo ofa ki tonga mo hifa ke mau donation page or donate mai ki ai, but at the same time fa malo to kilifi hiliate. Thank you for joining us tonight online. E fa ka na toko tape mo mea mai he po ni kai ke mo put us a note, but appreciate your time. Fa malo ma vahe apito ki a simata he fefini. Fia pita programa ko ni ne lava mai ke tau kau whata he whewhini ko ngā koe koe hange ko ne lau prenta ko mea ko pe, and you know this TWN we always wanted to put out something encouraging for the people to empower the people in Tonga, eh? Mau inga aupito and mahalo ko ia pe pea mo mea, good night. Is there anything I forget to for Malo to, Brenda? Please.
No, you got it. You got it, Line. Malo
Momea.
mo mea mai. Mo
Yeah,
mea.
Malo, momea.
Yeah, malo.